Hello, everyone. This is Mike Taylor. I am a consultant with Forgestik for about 15 years, working with SAP Business One. Today, I'm going to cover the topic of the B1 usability package and my top 5 favorite features. So today we'll cover the B1 usability package. What is it exactly if you're not familiar with it already? We'll cover why is it useful. I'm going to cover my top 5, the best features from my experience. I'm going to try to focus on ROI. So the things that would make you be interested in buying it and the things I think that provide the most value the quickest. And then we'll just do a little conclusion with some Q&A. So if you haven't heard of the B1 usability package, it's an add-on. It's very well known and widely used. It's been around forever. It is something that exists inside the SAP Business One client, and it's designed to fill gaps in what functionality I would say is missing in the SAP Business One out of the box platform. So it's a harder add-on to describe because it is not like, it's not like you're taking one thing and it does an e-commerce integration. Um, it's a group of tools and it's a whole host of tools that you can use that will help you to work better with SAP Business One, not just a single simplified function. So I like to think of it as a framework that you can build on that's designed to save you time and save your users time, which time is money, right? So the saving of the time to me translates into ROI. And it helps you to enhance your business processes because all the things I'm going to show you today and the general reason to get B1UP is to customize your SAP system in order to match your business processes and to help you pivot and reinforce those with your users as you're growing. So that is what I think it is. Why is it useful? So I've touched on some of the things, but being able to add features without developers is great. I love developers. Sorry, developers. But you can just do it. People can say, hey, I don't have a report here, or can you automate this function or something? I can just add those very quickly. I don't have to compile anything or redeploy anything. If you're familiar with the custom add-on process, you have to first you get a big quote, then you do it again. Sorry, developers, but you get a quote, they build it. If you have an existing add-on, they recompile it, they issue you a new version of it, and then you will install that into your Business One system, and then you have to install it in every single user's Business One system as it goes through. If you're in the cloud, it might be a little bit easier for the deployment part, but you don't need to recompile it because it's a framework and everybody's running it. The changes are immediate. So that's very nice. And there's no recompiling. The customization is very easy. It's designed for a consultant or, a moderately technical user can easily do customizations. Once you get used to how you're using the system, there are so many like support options from B1UP in terms of they have YouTube videos with e-learnings that are just open. You can do like their certification program that gives you a little certificate that has all the different parts of the system that they'll teach you how to use it. They have great, technical documentation as well. So I found it, if you kind of understand what you're going for and you have maybe a little bit of orientation, you can then do this yourself. You don't always have to rely on us to make changes. And even for me, if it's something that's a developer, I'm not a pure developer. So it's nice for me as a consultant because I can listen to the customer's requirements, or in your case, you listen to your user's requirements, and then immediately make changes. It's relatively upgrade proof. I would not, it's something I never think of as a factor for upgrades or migrations. It's never something I'm worried about. Once in a while, the button clicks will change or little things will change, and you have to change the paths. If you're moving a server, you do have to change where the paths are for the crystal reports that you're using if you're using print and delivery. But all in all, it's all the tables and everything you need is within the SAP Business One database, and it's not something that is going to be a very difficult thing to do. If you're going to go from version 9, for example, to version 10, very, very straightforward. You do the migration to your new server with V10. You just download the B1UP version for V10, and that's pretty much it. All your tables will upgrade. I can say maybe one, very, very small chance of issues there, just coming from consulting side. And I would say, again, trying to tie this into ROI and saving time and improving your processes, it's less costly overall. So you do pay maintenance on it, but compared to traditional development, the custom add-on development and deployment kind of cycle, it's going to be much less costly to develop. Like, I can add a feature in a day. You're just paying for the time for me to do the development of it. You don't have to pay for recompiling, adding the DLLs, testing it in your specific version, publishing it to some files. Oops, there was an error in the files. Now you've interrupted all your users to redeploy it. Again, if you use the custom add-on, sometimes it's a little bit annoying. And in my experience, like, used properly, it's a high ROI add-on. You're going to pay for it, and I'm hoping to demonstrate clearly why, like, the 5 most valuable features that you can use that will immediately give you that return. And then once you have kind of done a couple of those things, everything else is just amazing. There's just tons and tons and tons of additional tools. And I'm still finding new stuff that I didn't even know I could do. I'm still learning new stuff that I didn't even know I could do. So, if you have it, you can quickly get your investment back, make your users more efficient, and then keep pushing the envelope. Take a sip of coffee there. So here we go. Top 5 features. I try to do a drum roll. Probably doesn't show up on my mic. So my top 5 features, I'm going to start with account balances. So I think every time I've done this type of add-on implementation, this is one of the things that is the easiest ROI. And to be frank, the out-of-the-box account balances with SAP are pretty bad. You can't customize the layouts. You're very limited if you've tried to edit them. It's this, I won't go too technical, but basically you can barely edit the layout in SAP. They may have tied it into their emailing, but as of the last time I checked, you couldn't mass email them out to your customers. You definitely couldn't customize the wording, and even if it did output it to a bunch of PDFs, the PDFs would have some sort of unusual file name. So you probably find that your users do this all manually. Go and ask your accountant, do you love sending out account balances? And they'll say, no, I have to do the aging report, and then I have to output them all to PDFs, and then I have to convert all those PDF files to be the right file name. Then I have to email them every single one. And if you have hundreds of clients, that process can take literally days. It did with Forgestik too, and we implemented this and we still use this. So it's something that is a high value. So let's take a look at it. So again, if you've used this before, you're going to do, like, normally you're going to go to your aging, customer receivables aging, and that's where kind of the process starts. But with B1UP and specifically print and delivery, you can do your account balances. In this case, I'm going to do the action of print previewing, but I'll show you with the emailing as well. You can do a print, you can do you can make a drop down UDF, or you can use a property or whatever, some sort of indicator on the customer, and you can say, hey, this customer prefers a print of this. This customer prefers it by email. This customer prefers it by fax. This person prefers it by whatever, carrier pigeon. And then you can do them by batches. So you can just automate. Ultimately, you'd be able to schedule and automate your account balances going out on, say, the first of the month. And you won't really need to think about it. We will just set them all up. We set the parameters for how they're sent, and it's kind of a set it and forget it process. But again, we kind of acknowledge that you will have customers that want to also get it by printing, get a printed copy, and you can get those too. Oops. I meant to filter this. I'm doing a preview of every single one. I meant to just filter this for one user. Just one sec. Yeah, 1 second here. Whoops. I just have to restart the add-on. Resume. So what I meant to do was filter, but I got carried away. So just give me a second here. I'm just going to restart the usability package, and I'll show you the layout. And so the layout that comes here that I'm about to show you is fully customizable, and believe it or not, is actually a data source. So for the people that have ever tried to use the SAP account statements, the SAP account statements, you cannot even customize them. There's just again technically due to the way that they're created, you can barely do anything to them because there's no data source behind them. So sorry about that. I meant to filter this. I gotta restart this here. This is what I should have done. Okay, so I just wanted the one, not my entire system. Okay, so you can see, this is, in my opinion, a very nice looking layout. And it's, again, fully 100% customizable with an integral data source. And if you're somebody that's a technical person, that's a huge thing, because you can make any changes you want. You can rename anything you want. You can do any of the math, any of the highlighting, any of the things that you need to do. And this document layout actually comes with your B1 usability package with the print and delivery. So it's something that, again, very quickly, you're getting the account statement. You can adapt this and you can just install the account balance. A few things that you need to set up, and then almost immediately you can get to sending your account statements. You can take this off of your accountant's plate and they don't need to think about this. So beyond just having a nice looking layout here with things the way that you want to see them, you can, as I mentioned, do the emailing and the printing. So I am going to make sure I'm filtered. I'll just show you what an email looks like and why it's so neat. So I'm going to just do this. I'm just going to do this for one customer. Create the email. I'm just making this to my own draft. So you can see here, this has appeared in my draft, but it's used data from the actual customer. So it says, here's your account balance with the customer's code and the customer's name, with the name, attaches your account balance, and then it actually has named the file with the date that it's sending out on. And this will be the actual PDF that I showed you. So again, I'm just interrupting this so I can show you what it would look like, but this would actually go directly to the customer. If you want to change any of these things, you can. But out of the box with SAP, you would not be able to do this. You can make the account balance file name whatever you want. You can add conditional things, and I'll show you a little bit more about this later. But this this saves so much time where you don't have to go and do the manual creation of the file, the manual naming of any of the email stuff and all that. So that is the top number one. Okay, back to here. Number two, dashboards. So who doesn't love dashboards? Dashboards are very, just no-brainers, I think. And out of the box, SAP is very weak on these. You had kind of the Excelsius B1UP style stuff, which is partly deprecated and although cool looking, not very useful. Of course, being a hardcore SAP Business One fan, I prefer to keep people in the system rather than doing something like Power BI. Power BI is great, but again, it's kind of an external tool. The nice thing about keeping your dashboards in SAP is you can do drill downs, you can do filters, you can do everything right from within the system. And being able to drill down in the system makes, say, an operational dashboard very useful because you can be viewing the data, drilling right into the source data, and seeing all those numbers right in the system. So, if you're a manager of a company, you should have some familiarity of your system. The best customers embrace their systems. They're in their systems. They know how to do some basic stuff in their system. Why not be able to ask for the KPIs you want where you want? So we have a lot of different features here. This is an out of the box. This is basically a default dashboard that comes with B1UP. So you don't have to really do anything. And there are a whole series of them that come with, just out of the box, including pivots, including production, including service calls, including financials with the AR/AP aging. So there's a lot that you can just instantly get a sense of maybe what you're looking for, and then you can go and build everything you want custom. So for this one, I have, drill downs. I can drill down into February, see the breakdown of the groups. I can use filters here. There are a lot of different things that you can do to just quickly check your data. We have, again, more of a KPI manager type summary, so you can see these. Then you also have other functional widgets like common functions. The sales process here, kind of QuickBook-esque look where you have other options and you have your process so you can make it very, very clear for your users. And then you have an open items list. So how often have you popped open the open items and wanted to look through it? We have other ones too. So the sales pivot is something that's nice if you want to just see this data. To a smaller extent, these pivots are, you can export them to Excel. If you are obsessed with Excel, if you're an Excelaholic and you want to get things out to Excel, there are other ways to do them. So if you're looking at this and you're like, wow, this is a good way to get them out to Excel. This isn't really what we're focusing on with the dashboards. Again, it's to keep you to get the data you want, being able to kind of slice and dice your date ranges here and to be able to see the data quickly how you want them. You can add more filters and you can drill into these different things and see all this stuff. So this is something where you can stay in SAP, make sure all your source data matches your transactional data, and just gives you all the information you want. It breaks into the different quarters. We can break into the different months just in the pivot. And again, this kind of comes out of the box. We have Kanban style boards with the sales opportunities. So you can actually view these, move them. So you can, again, you're affecting your actual source data. You can set the close date from here. You can set the potential amount from here. So you can actually use these to affect the base data. And you can see as you move them around, you could have your own, you could filter it just for your own opportunities and move them around, change the color, and you can see everything they're all in one place. There's a lot more than this. I'm not covering everything, but this is more of what I like to call an operational style dashboard. So this is less like something that a manager type would be interested in, but it's something that somebody that does, say, procurement and supply planning, they'd be able to drill in here, look, they can see all of the incoming purchase orders and sales orders too. So you can go here, double click, and you can actually go right to the source data and look at that purchase order. And it gives you just a good view where you can filter for your item groups and work with the data in the system. You can filter by the business partner. And it's just a really great way to visualize the data, speed up what you're looking for, make users have increase the intelligence of what they're doing, so they're not just looking in all sorts of different places, and it speeds them up. And my goal is to make it where they can kind of look at the dashboard, see where they're like what they're doing for the day, see it all in one place, and have it very quick for them to do their job. So that reinforces your processes, increases the speed, all that good stuff. Coffee. I also need to take a breath. So excited. Number 3. So I think kind of, again, one of the weaknesses, sorry, SAP Business One, one of the weaknesses of SAP Business One specifically is emailing. So that's something that I've focused a little bit on, and something that I'm going to focus on a little bit more is, yes, even if you connect Outlook to it, even if you use SBO Mailer, you are not going to really have the best options, because you still have to either manually type in the document, or you have to PDF to a file, change the file name and attach it to an email. Then you have to go find the email of the person. And it's basically a completely manual process. If you do hundreds of documents a day, you can literally just keep making them, forget about them with B1UP. So we'll go to the sales order here. So first, let me show you the options, but you can do a scheduled batch send. So, every hour, the mass delivery just looks for new documents. It knows what emails you want to set. And if you have a validation on your user or on the customers, then you're already going to have a specific email address in their business partner record. And then it's going to automatically make the PDF, make the email, craft the words how you want them, and automatically send it out for you. So you don't have to do any of those things that you used to do. So if I push email and I want to do it manually, that's an option too. I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll just quickly show the setup so you can see. So I'm going to push this. With print and delivery integrated, it takes over all the SAP stuff, puts it to the side, and then you can use this. So you don't need to see this, but this is just for you to see. You can edit this, and it crafts the email. It knows it's a sales order. I put demo template there. You can change this to your subject that you want. It pulled dynamically the emails that you want. It put the document number in there. And in this case, I'm doing a slightly more fancy dancy HTML layout, but I wanted to just show you this. I'm also doing an Amazon style, or we'll say an e-commerce style table. So you're going to see, if you can read HTML, you can see this, but I'll show it to you in plain words. That it's really neat. And you can do full customization. You can do images. You can really fancy up your emails and have them all be dynamically created. And you still get the attachments. So you don't have to have an attachment. Again, if you do an e-commerce style notification, you can avoid the PDF altogether. But in this case, it crafts the PDF, it makes the PDF, it names it properly, and it attaches it. These are the things that over and over and over and over again every day people are doing. Putting it on a desktop, and especially if you work remotely, this will be able to send direct without having to move it locally, rename it, resend it. And you can even send through Exchange. So it will appear in your sent messages immediately. So you can send it from a remote server and see it in your Office 365 Exchange right after it's sent from the remote server, and it will appear as if it was sent directly from your user or from your central mailbox. So again, you don't have to see this. This can also be in plain words with the same options. But again, I just wanted to show a little bit of the HTML formatting. It's very basic, but I'll send this. And this will send it actually just to my drafts. Normally, again, we can send this, but you can see this translates it from HTML. It makes just a simple table, not too crazy. And so you could even avoid using a PDF completely and just say, hey, here are the items that you purchased from us, and treat this more like an e-commerce kind of interaction just to confirm their order. You can, I've done things like having the tracking number link automatically and conditionally show here. I've done much more kind of fancy formatting with lots of colors and graphics and logos. So all that HTML stuff, like emails you've undoubtedly seen, all can be automated. And again, a nice demo sales order. And again, with this layout, this comes with B1UP, print and delivery, and it automatically, like, it includes a data source for you so that you don't have to use the SAP default layout. The SAP default layout is about, in my opinion, professional opinion, about sometimes 10 times slower than this for generation. This is much more flexible. In my opinion, it looks great, and you can customize this to whatever you want to see. And I think that it is a huge save in time. You don't have to have this developed from scratch. The crystal reports come with B1UP, and I think it's just a great addition and a quick way to kind of get that ROI. I'll just discard that. So above and beyond that too, I didn't want to call this just emails, but if we focus on these buttons up here, we're replacing them with various functions. So if we drill a little bit into the back end of this, the functionality, you can see that we are using dynamic syntax to make those subjects. We are using dynamic syntax even within the HTML creation, and you can set multiple to addresses. You can set multiple CC, BCC. You can use SQL to conditionally find what emails you want. You can send them out directly through Exchange, through SMTP. And if you're using a batch delivery through the server, you can use SMTP or Exchange too. And again, you can just leave your order desk to make, they're just doing their orders. And then the server comes along and they'll just keep automatically mailing them. They don't even need to think about it. So massive amount of ROI. In terms of the printing part, you can do a print button that's conditional. So you can have it conditionally detect something on the document and then print to location A or network printer B, or you can have a pick list that goes to a network printer conditionally based on the source of, maybe you have a sales order done centrally and you want to do a pick list for location A. It can detect the top warehouse and it can say, well, this would be in, British Columbia warehouse, and it'll go to British Columbia. This is Quebec warehouse and goes to the Quebec printer. So you can do all those things. The print button's really neat that way. You can PDF save this to a specific location. It just gives you so many more options. You can do multiple actions. You can literally make the PDF and have it auto attach to the document. You can do an Excel output that's actually useful in a specific format that you want. So you can use Crystal Reports as the base and then make it output to an actual Excel layout. You can do the fax button where you're using an e-fax. So to the user, they're pushing the button for faxing, but it's actually an e-fax. So technically it's sending an email in the back, but it's sending, phone number at efax.ca or whatnot. It uses Crystal Reports all as the base, so you don't need to use some sort of proprietary system. I love Crystal Reports, obviously. I think there's two types of people in regards to Crystal Reports. There's people that love it and people that don't know how to use it. So, regardless of what you kind of think about it, once you get to use it, it can do everything. Boom. So that's it. You could do mass deliveries. You can do consolidated emails. So you can have it send one email for multiple documents. There's just so many different things you can do email wise and print wise that very quickly will give you some ROI and reinforce your processes. The next two are a little bit less direct, but I think really tie into the saving time process reinforcements. So being able to customize forms. I think as a user, when you're starting to get used to SAP Business One, there are just so many fields. So if you look in my logistics tab, you can see that it's very simple and it focuses on the specific things that we're focusing on, and it highlights different fields. And in my opinion, this is much less cluttered than when you look at the default one. So just out of the box, I can literally take a regular field, B1 usability package, hide it, move it, change it without having to recompile, without having to make a custom add-on. If you've tried to use even SAP's out of the box formatting, it's frankly not that good. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't line everything up properly. It doesn't give you the options to make drop downs. It doesn't give you the options to make checkboxes. It doesn't give you the option to make buttons. It doesn't give you the option to make these read-only boxes. It doesn't give you the option to make your own golden arrows. It doesn't give you the option, like I have extra tabs. I have SQL reports built in secondary tabs here. So there's a lot of things in here that will allow you to remove this ridiculous sidebar. If you're running from this sidebar, your users can't see this in context. They don't understand this. It's almost impossible to maintain. As a user, especially a user that's a lower level user and you're expecting them to go through here, interpret all this, to get all the right fields, to do all that stuff, I think it's not really something that's going to happen well. Why not clean up your forms, publish them, clean them up so that even a new sales order, new order desk person can walk in and this makes sense. You don't have to extensively train them, have them go through a period of making a bunch of errors. You don't have to have all that stuff. You can clean it up, color code it. You could say, hey, everything you need to edit will be purple. You can group things by colors, and there are so many options here that really add a lot of value. The other thing here is you can add question marks. So you can do like a little explanation of what this field is actually for. So in this case, I have a credit approved box. Push this, and then you just write a little bit of text in here to explain in context what the user should expect, and you can have full help to go to a company wiki, a company's standard operating procedures. You know, move yourself towards a medium-sized business. Think like a medium-sized business. Don't just throw your users in there and expect them to figure it out, because you're going to have errors. The last but not least, macro automation. So again, this one is more subject to your creativity, but very quickly, I will, if people keep talking about I'm missing this report, or I have to keep doing this particular process over and over again, we can use macros to automate those. So the macro is a very simplified system that will allow you to do certain things to add simplified features to your system. So something as simple as this, the sales order, and then it's like, it's ready to invoice, click invoice. Oops, I didn't validate that. Click invoice, and it makes it go. I should have validated if it's an okay or not, a demo system, you know what I mean? You can validate whether this button, this was just in update mode, so the copy to wasn't there. So this is just a simple button, automatically copies it to an invoice. Is this vastly superior than clicking copy to an invoice? Not necessarily, but again, if you think of simplifying this for users, it's very straightforward to see these buttons on the side. Some of these, like relationship map, yes, it's a right click and you can view it. But the nice thing is it's just a simplified thing that you can get used to, where you don't have to dig through these things. So basically, when I click this, the macro does the click for me, and you can go much more complicated than that. So say you want a quicker way, and not to mention these nice function buttons on the side. The function buttons, I forgot to add to the form customization. But these are really nice to be able to add buttons that will do different functions. So you have batch selection, batch expiration, customer batches. You can click and view the customer's other open orders. So again, pretty simple. The macro pops open a query window with nice golden arrows, with totals, with a refresh button, and then you can drill down into these specific documents. Very simple, but if a user's constantly going modules, sales reports, open items list, they run it, then they have to filter for the customer. They have to go through here, filter for the customer, or you have to go BPMD, load it, orders here, right? These clicks over and over and over and over again are not only frustrating for users, it also wastes time. So being able to just automate these processes, this is very simple examples, saves a lot of time. We have things like adding an activity. So you can go, I have new activity, actually I have it twice. You can click new activity, boom. Yes, it's a right click, but you can add the activity. You can add the activity, automatically fill this in. You can move to different fields. You can, conditionally add different things in there, whatever you can think of, something that you do over and over again. You can just automate it using a simplified macro. Anything that a human can kind of roughly do, you can go through and have SAP do that. So a credit check, so you see not checked. I can check the credit. I just click this button. The macro goes, checks the credit for the customer, goes a credit approved, and sets it to approved. Really kind of slick and clean, and the user doesn't have to go check if they're approved, come back, enter that. You can call the customer from here, so you can actually trigger external applications. You can use a much more complicated C# command, so you can affect your network. You do DI API calls. So this is something, it looks very complicated. It's not that complicated for us to do. We can actually look back in the history of the system for this customer and close all of their back orders without even leaving this screen. So this will actually do a macro, which will trigger this to go back to the through the DI API calls properly through the system, how we're supposed to do it, and actually close them in the background. So there's a lot of other things in here too. Let's say we want to check invoice before shipment and we just want this label to show up there. So this is a macro here too. So I'm kind of showing you more stuff just isolated for the order, but I mean, you can, I've done things where you can open up an invoice, add items, select the serial number from there based on a scan. I've done point of sale systems where we have a scan box where if you scan into it, it'll actually add the item. We can add a lot of functionality. We can do a lot of different things to reinforce your processes. We can do a lot of things to speed your users up. We can eliminate users having to manually fill out specific fields. So similar to a formatted search, we can do it much better. We can trigger on multiple fields to edit things. We can loop through these rows prior to add and find out if a specific item is in the matrix here. We can do so many things to help automate the process for users, save them time from having to do repetitive tasks. Time is money. Saves money and gives you that ROI so that you can get, makes it worth it to get B1UP. Like last thing I wanted to show actually here is one of the most requested things. Very simple. I'm just going to load a customer. When I go away from that, this pop up. Quick notes. So I just have this quick notes. The quick notes were on the business partner. So many people ask me, can I do a pop-up message when I add a customer to a document? Very simple, always requested. Very, very easy to do with B1UP. So you can see this one. They wanted to know in the last example that I did, they wanted to know if the customer has multiple ship to addresses. So just to pay attention to the ship to addresses, you could do customer is overdue on invoices. You can warn anything you want with the users. And then I just output the quick notes that were set in the business partner. So again, it's a macro automation. Yes, the user can proactively go drill into the BPMD and look at the quick notes, but why should they? They should just be able to get the information they need as quickly as possible. So those are the top 5. So it's a huge array of features. We had our account balances, then account balances. So remember, saves a lot of time. Don't have to do them manually. Dashboards give you your information, KPIs. You can do them operationally as well. Very customizable. Actually, I didn't show you the, you can do gauges. You can do all sorts of charts, pivots, a lot of different things. I'm debating going back and doing it. But there's a lot of other elements that you can build your dashboards from. Again, gauges was the one I wanted to show. That wasn't in any of the ones I had there. Print and delivery. So speed up your emailing, speed up your printing. You could do mass printing and mass emailing through batches in all sorts of different ways with all sorts of conditional options. Customize your forms. Users want context. Get rid of that UDF sidebar. It's awful. Nobody likes it. 5, macro automation. Automate repetitive tasks. Add convenient and highly usable features and functions very quickly for your users. Saves time. Huge array of features. I touched on just a tiny little fraction. These are the ones I would say I use. If I'm going to implement B1UP, these are the ones I do first. And there's a ton of more stuff I'm not going to talk about today. High ROI. So is B1UP free? No. Is it expensive? Not really. All of these things will give you a turn on your investment immediately and quickly improve your processes. Time is money. I love B1UP. It's misunderstood, and people think it can do everything under the sun, and sometimes they're disappointed, but as long as you scope it first and embrace it and figure out what it is and start thinking about improving your processes, if you have a mind for improving your processes or a specific reason to get it, like you just want to automate account balances, maybe that's enough to justify it. And then maybe you want to move into dashboards. I think honestly that's enough, depending on the number of users. I recommend you get it today. I think SAP Business One is not complete without B1UP. I think you need to be able to customize your forms properly. I think you should be able to email properly out of SAP. I think account balances should be not something that your accountants dread. So that's it for me for today. I will be answering your Q&A. I'll stick around. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat box. I am here hanging out, watching myself talk. And thank you very much for watching.